What's going on, guys? Coach Rob here. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the hip movement when we are hitting a forehand, right? So driving the hip to the ball. Now, a lot of coaches will say things like lead with the hip, drive the hip, put the hip into the ball. Although this is not incorrect, it is very important that we further explain a couple of things. So the first thing that we need to do when we are trying to make sure that we are engaging the hip into the forehand is having a nice wide base, right? So this nice wide base, very much so loaded into the ground, right? The weight should be moving from the back leg, right? So in this situation, I'm a righty, so from my right leg coming into my left, right? So from the right into the left, from the right into the left. Now, what is very important? So the hip is going to start, it's going to initiate the entire movement, right? So we're going to push the hip. However, if the racket head does not accelerate in through the ball as we are pushing the hip and the hand does not end up in front of the hip, what we will do is we see what I see as one of the biggest errors, most common errors, where a player will look something along the lines of this. Add contact. Because the racket head ends up actually being very, very late behind you if we're not accelerating the hand as we are pushing the hip. So again, right, if this hand is not accelerating and ending up in front of the hip to get the racket to come first to contact and the hip is pushing and leading the way, we are going to be late. So what is very, very important here is, once again, we're going to get into a nice wide stance. Okay, the hip is going to initiate, but we're going to speed up the racket head so that the racket head is what goes to the ball first. So the hip initiates, we're going to push from the right leg, and this hand is going to accelerate forward. Right, so we're going to push, accelerate the hand right in front. So we need a lot of acceleration here. Okay, so pushing the hip and the hand accelerating quickly to contact. So the two versions would look something along the lines of this. So if we are not accelerating the hand, it will look something along the lines of this. Right? We have this late rotation, the arm lags back, right? Everything is opening up, chest is opening up, everything is going everywhere. Contact point suffers, we have no idea where this ball is going. However, if we accelerate the hand forward through the hip, it should look something like this. Right? You see how everything stayed in line, the hip came through, hand ended up in front, we extended nice and long, and everything stayed steady. So again, when we are using the hip, we want to really make sure that this racket head ends up coming in front, the hip is not going to lead the way and forget the racket head behind. So again, pushing the hip, racket head in front, and then continuing forward. The hand has to pass first in order for us to have good contact, keeping the ball in front of our body and not be late here. So again, guys, driving the hip from the right leg to the left, but with the primary focus on making sure that this hand and the top of the racket head is coming through the ball first. If this was helpful, leave me a comment, leave me a like, and come on, guys, let's get that next win.